God bless you, and thank you for being here.
Why are you here? Why? Absolutely. And our next speaker is Pastor Eli Lietzau. If you would give. He is the Faith in Christ Lutheran Church in Albuquerque. Pastor.
Is this going to work?
Yeah, hold it up.
Okay. It's an honor and a privilege to be here, to march with you, to rally with you, to speak with you on behalf of life. Somewhere along the way, we lost something. That something was intrinsic. It was innate. It's what set us apart from the rest of creation. Goodness, it still is, even if we as society can't seem to recognize it anymore. That something is why there's no comparison between killing a spider and harming your neighbor. It's understood, it can be and should be seen through our conscience, through natural law, but at some point, society lost this something, or at least won't allow it to be applied to everyone, from the weakest to the strongest, from the smallest to the biggest. I speak about our humanness, this flesh and blood and soul and spirit, that which sets us apart from the birds of the air and the beasts of the field. And with this humanity of ours comes certain natural rights, rights that aren't granted to us by the government, but instead endowed upon us by our Creator. But when our humanity is lost, then these rights are taken away. When society or government can decide what is human, they can also decide who gets these rights. The argument keeps changing on us year after year, decade after decade, like the shore that's altered after every single tide. The problem is, though, that society can't be built upon shifting stands of political correctness or subjective movements. Eventually, such a society will actually crumble and will be left huddled in a mess by the wayside of history, but not before it's thrown its weakest and its most vulnerable in the trash heap to cushion its fall. The unborn are now seen as unhuman. For if they were human, then we would have to do a much better job at explaining why we can rip them apart limb from limb and out of their mother's wombs. We want to place on a pedestal the ridiculous notion that allowing the aged and infirm to die with dignity, well, it's really good. It's something to be praised. But in reality, all we're doing is just snuffing out their life because it's more expedient to do so. Tell me, how is this any different than Old Yeller? At least at the end of Old Yeller, everyone in the theater cried. And that would be funny if it weren't so tragic. Goodness, at least we used to pretend that ending a life, being the bringer of death, had heavy and weighty consequences for all involved. But now, women are encouraged to shout their abortions, as if there's no shame that covers this whole macabre charade. And now Grandma, she's encouraged to throw a death party for her family and friends while she drinks a cocktail of poison that not only steals away her breath, but also robs away her humanity. When did society start plunging ahead, deaf, dumb, and blind, without a care in the world to the intended or unintended consequences of our actions? Ethics be damned. That's the new battle cry, followed by the ever more disturbing onward, forward. We're so concerned with being able to do something, accomplish something, that we never stop to ask if we actually should, and all of the consequences that come with it. And so the child is vacuumed away, and the mother is ushered out the door quickly with a pocket full of condoms, as if that's going to fix everything. And the medical worker, she's forced to end life or lose her job, and the death of the elderly is seen as a common good somehow. Our government has failed us from top to bottom, both sides of the aisle. It's failed the shame-covered mother, the conflicted medical worker, the disrespected elder, and the dead baby. And so we come here today to demand of the government what we've given them to do, what we have given them to do. And that is to protect the innocent and protect life. Perhaps they will. I pray that they will. Probably they won't. So then we return home and we do what is given to us to do. We do for those who can't do for themselves. And how that looks, I don't know. That's going to look different for the medical worker. And it's going to look different for the state senator. And it's going to look different for the father of the frightened teenager. But whatever our vocation actually is, it's given to us to do no harm to our neighbor in his body, to recognize the humanness of the unborn and the sick and the elderly and the rights that come with their humanity, to help and support them in every physical need. And that help does not include ending their life and claiming that we're doing good. We speak for the silent, and we comfort the guilt-ridden. We bring forgiveness to those covered in shame. We hold our government accountable. We proclaim life, not death. Here we stand. We can do no other.
Another ambassador for life. Now we have our next speaker is another ambassador for life, Senator Bill Sherritt.
Thank you very much. I am way impressed by the massive size of this march today. This is great. This is fantastic. What this shows is that New Mexico really is a pro-life state.
Yeah.
That New Mexicans are very pro-life. And yet in New Mexico, we really are the late-term abortion capital of America. But this proves that we don't want to be.
That's right.
And we shouldn't be.